Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what is going on, Automotive Nation? How you doing? Hey, thank you for taking the time to come check out this great conversation all about this tiny event that's like coming up here in a couple. No, I'm just kidding. The Super Bowl, all right, of automotive events, NADA. It's literally coming right around the corner. If you guys are watching this before it, if you're watching after, it don't really matter. But hey, I have a great guest with me, and we are very excited to get into some awesome topics about just, being prepared, maybe some pitfalls and stuff you want to watch out for, but I have the one, the only, the oh so famous Dennis, who's the sales and finance director at Nilo Group. Did I say it right?
The Nilo Company.
Nilo Company. Jeez, I almost had it. See, I always do that. Dennis, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, if I can remember my script and what I'm actually supposed to say today, but that's it's the real
world.
Aren't
that cool. We'll keep it live and fresh. Way better way to go anyway.
Yes. Hey, real quick, Dennis. I love kicking off these chats with a little origin story because I gotta be honest with you, I'm fundamentally fascinated how people end up into this crazy little world we call the automotive industry. So let's start there, if you don't mind. How in the world did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
It's definitely a family thing. My dad started in the business in LA in the early 70s for Bob Wondry's Ford. And, he raised our family as a car salesman, a sales manager. And, when I was about ready to go off to college, I wanted to, go out and I wanted to go snowboarding. I wanted the latest and greatest snowboard and all the stuff. And he said, hey, you know what? You can have whatever it is you want as long as you work hard for it. And all that stuff was expensive. And I know my dad did well. And so when I enrolled in the University of Nevada, Reno, also known as the Harvard of the Sierras, I started selling cars at the same time. And, that worked out. Then I found out I was having my first son who turned 26 yesterday. And I got more serious about the car business and less serious about going to school at UNR. And here I am. I think that's 28 years later, still doing it. So,
dude, you know what? It doesn't surprise me. So, look, here's what I find. I find people, it's usually like one of three paths, right? Either you're kind of born into the business, and it sounds like that's kind of what happened for you, right? Either you stumbled into the business through a very large fluke series of events, and boy, have I heard some doozies. Like I've literally heard CEOs of current manufacturers show up for the wrong interview. And that's how they actually got into the automotive industry. Or third, like me, got conned into the business.
Yeah. Well, we all get conned into something. It's just whether you believe it was a con or just okay, that was a good sales pitch. I'm running with it. But
that's true. I did. Okay, so Dennis, I actually answered one of those newspaper. Remember back in late 90s, you had hey, you want to make $600,000 a year and no education, and that I didn't even know what the heck the job was even for, right? So I did one of those, and then ended up going to this place where I paid someone for 2 weeks to tell them how I would ultimately go sell cars. Anyways, I'm glad I did, and we're in the business. But boy, man, once it gets in your blood, you really can't get it out, can you?
Well, that's the great thing about the industry that you pointed out. You don't need to, you really don't need some massive degree from some Ivy League university. If you communicate at a high level and have some work ethic, you can really have a high level of success in this great industry and make a great life for yourself. So I would say automotive is one of the best kept secrets out there for a way to, make a good living.
And you know what? Honestly, I think this point in time in automotive, you couldn't be even more accurate with that, right? I mean, think back kind of when we started. I mean, dude, I remember literally just calling people in the phone book, just straight up dialing random numbers out of the phone book. I mean, I look now. We're gonna go to NADA. Everyone out there watching, and listening, I know we're all gonna get the amount of technology that is supporting people and process. And it is so advanced. There are times I look and go, man, what I would do to kill to go back and be a salesperson right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Let's start the conversation here, Dennis. I've done a lot of NADAs. You've done a handful of NADAs. let's start off with everybody out there that's maybe going. Any suggestions or recommendations as far as like how you should be planning for the event?
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question, because when you go to NADA, and this one just happens to be in Las Vegas, I would equate going into the NADA showroom like walking on a casino showroom floor. There's bright signs flashing, there's all these noises, there's just all this stuff. And you mentioned it a minute ago, there's all this technology that is just really coming into our industry. I would say it's 10, 15 years behind. You probably know better, but that's a lot to dissect. So for me personally, really looking at our business here in Sacramento and focusing on where are my areas of improvement that I can make a difference for obviously the owners, but the people that make it happen every day. And and then build a plan from there,
Yes.
and then have I'm going here, and here, no matter what. Like, those are non-negotiables. And then a couple secondary, and then it is nice just to wander around a little bit without a plan, because sometimes you learn stuff by chance, so you don't want to rob yourself of that opportunity.
No, you know what? I really like that. And I'll dive a little deeper because I love finding rabbit holes. So I want to go a little deeper down this rabbit hole because I think you really hit on something, right? I think, for everybody out there watching, listening, like, look at your 2025. And honestly, guys, be honest with yourselves, please. All right. And, look at maybe operationally where you fell short and identify. Don't make a list of 25 things. Please don't do that. All right. But maybe make a list of like 2 or 3 top things that operationally you would like to improve on. First recommendation I would do is go to the education portion. So guys, go to nada.com. If you haven't downloaded the app, all right, take a look and see who's speaking on those specific topics, and go find out what other dealers are doing, what other strategies and plays are out there. And then personally, I would tell you, go to the expo floor. So I don't know about you. That's my suggestion. I like to do the education stuff first, then go over to the expo floor and kind of work my way back, saying, all right, what I learned in the education, let me go seek out, the technologies that are going to support. I'm sure you probably do something very similar to that as well, right?
Well, I mean, we have some brilliant minds in our industry, across, our vendor partners, and, a lot of them, when you set aside when you set aside time to learn, or like you said, go to one of those courses, it's really it's going to fill in maybe some blind spots you might have.
Sure.
But I think the most important takeaway is, after you set through one of those sessions, when you do hit the floor, like you mentioned, you're going to be better equipped to ask really good questions to solve whatever it is you're solving for. So education is, in my mind, a way to ask better questions, which is really going to help you get to the fundamental truth of what you're trying to solve.
No, that is a really good point. And guys, I think you should, be prepared to take notes. Like, go to these sessions. Don't go in the sessions and fiddle on your phone. Like, literally go to these sessions, take some notes. And I love the idea, Dennis, of that really kind of preps you to now going into the expo. Hey, Dennis, I'm just curious for you. Is there anything operationally that you're kind of looking for from an education or maybe a technology perspective going into this year?
Well, I mean, everything, it seems like the last couple of years, everything has been AI. But, the big conversation is, AI is only as good as the data it sets upon. So for us here at the Nilo company, we're really looking, and I know this is going to be a big focus of mine, is, identifying a partner that can really help us get our data in order, so we can better leverage that for better outcomes, whether that be fixed ops or sales. And I know there's going to be a lot of conversations had in those speaking engagements that I certainly plan on attending. But that's certainly one focus. And I think the other thing, which has also been a topic, is we just still, I know COVID was a thing, but we still have a lot of sales professionals in our industry that started during that time frame. And with margin compression being what it is, it's up to us as leaders to better equip our team with the tools to set them up for success, but really more importantly, the training, so they can feel more confident giving a great customer experience. We talk about CSI, which, in my opinion, really stands for customer supplies income. So we have to be prepared to give them a great experience, because that's how we're going to get to yes and make more money for us and our families.
Oh man, dude, you nailed it out of the park. I mean, knocked it out of the park right there. I mean, that's perfect. I'm by the way, I'm so with you. By the way, on data utilization, and look at here for years. All right, people have been telling our industry that you're sitting on a gold mine of data. That's just a gold mine down there. But have we really been able to capitalize on that? And I think you're 100% right with the advancements in AI and the ability to look at many different data sets over a vast amount of different points and being able to analyze that insanely quickly. You're right, 100%. I'm totally with you. Anybody out there watching, listening, guys, think about your data play, your data game. All right, and definitely seek that out. I'm so with you when it comes to process and people. Like that's one thing I always look for when I go in every single year. It's like, I'm here because I want to see both from an education perspective and but also from a technology perspective. How can I better all right, my people and my process, because I know that when my people and process are like just in line with each other, that's when things are happening at its best, right? I would love to kind of get kind of your take. Is there any specific processes that you're just like, hey, this is something that we're kind of focusing on or we're thinking we're going to come look for? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I would equate, marketing to a process and identifying, the appropriate audience, how are we fundamentally able to aggregate that information? Because when you look at the way data is siloed across, just dealerships in general, just, I think the clearest example is, fixed operations and sales. I mean, there's key events that happen in our service drives that unfortunately, they're tougher to leverage on the sales side. Like if someone comes in and, gets presented with a $5,000 repair bill and it's declined. I mean, I think we all know that customer declined it because they're like, you know what, I'm not going to throw good money after or bad money or good money after bad, however that works. And now they're in the market to buy a car. And that happens every day at every dealership. And so, getting the data and putting a process in place, ideally automated, that every time that happens, it puts the ball in the right player's hands to act upon that valuable micro moment to make a transaction happen, whether that be in sales or service.
Well, and honestly, that just enhances the overall customer experience, right? For years we kind of got promised this magical thing with it was called a CDP, and I get it. A bunch of people took a crack at it, and there's still fragmentation across. I don't think anybody totally knocked that one out of the park. I'm sure I'm going to get some comments saying, "Well, we did." Okay, but I think the thesis or the methodology, the approach to looking at the business holistically is probably one of the most important things I think we could have pulled from that. And it's not just it's holistically, to your point, holistically the data from the entire journey, not just a single point of the journey, right? The holistic approach for how our people fits with inside that journey, and then how our process. You brought up earlier, right? We still have a lot of people that are in the business that started when really we weren't selling, we were transacting. And are they still trying? Did they ever get coached or trained on those processes needed to really build the rapport, handle the negotiations, and so on and so forth? This is, guys. I see a theme that me and Dennis are kind of leaning towards here, and it's really about future proofing your business. So I think when you go to this big event, think about what you kind of need now, but then also what you're going to think about what you're going to need to really kind of future proof your business. Is there anything, for your guys' group, and you may or may not have had this conversation. I'm just curious. So is there anything, future wise that you guys are looking for to say, hey, yeah, that's one of the things that we want to learn more about. And it may just be something as simple as AI. I'm just curious for you guys. Is there anything you've talked about?
Well, data aside, which is important, and I think is, a major point of future proofing our dealership and driving our retention numbers on both the sales and service side of the house. But, at the end of the day, our owner and president, Rick Nilo, he often says we're not in the car business, we're in the people business. So I think for us to effectively future proof our dealership and our operation, we need to be investing in people, training people, and with the data and the automation to serve them up opportunities when it matters most. And then, finding ways and tools to where all these transactions that happen, when we've been monitoring phone calls forever. We have all this data that's living in our CRM in terms of communication, and all of that can really funnel down to where the best of the best salespeople get a yes, right? And it's those are the things that we want to aggregate in terms of data, and that can then turn around to offer, those that want to grow and do a great job or need improvement, that they can learn from that just to become better with handling customers, handling objections, knowing where to turn for questions that they just don't know because it's maybe not their job, and I think that is, for me, that's the way to future-proof our industry, is the data and all that part, putting good thought processes into how we serve ads. But the other part is making sure our team knows what our customer receives and then knows how to deal with whatever that particular transaction is going to start out looking like.
No, you're absolutely right. And I've talked a little bit of this on some other episodes and stuff like that. I call it kind of like a people technology, so I am so aligned with you, and, you got to get your data right. Oh my gosh. It's to your points. It's fragmented all over the place. And 9 times out of 10, not even accurate, right? Like the accuracy of the data is horrible. Like talking about fixed ops, I mean, we're losing over 40% of our business after the warranty expires. I mean, there's places in our business that are hemorrhaging, and all of that does have to do with data. But then to your point, I mean, once we've cleaned that up, it's all about the people and how we're going to support those people. And I know there's going to, guys, look here. And I know me and Dennis talked a little bit about this before we started recording. Look, you're going to go to NADA. You're going to hear the word AI everywhere. Okay. But one of the best advices I can give you is ask them, how does this help my people? I mean, no, selfish plug. The guys that are sponsoring this, they're phenomenal. You should totally check them out. But there are a lot of companies out there that do care about the people and are building technology specifically for them. Hey, Dennis, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our conversation. For everybody out there watching and listening right now who would maybe like to connect with you or say hi to you when they're at the show, what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. That's a great way. I've got a number of people that have joined the company through there, so that's great. And then I'll be the tall, lanky guy with the big ears. They'll be bigger because I'll have a haircut by NADA. But I'm always love to chat with other people in our industry. But Jason, what you just said about make sure you're looking at the tools you're putting in your dealership for the people. We really, really need to work on simplifying our people's workflow. Integration does not mean dropping a link that takes us to another website where we've got to log in. Everything needs to be easily found and be able to be leveraged at the moment. And I think, if you start there, no matter where you're at in your journey of improving your 2026 over 2025, it'd be hard to go wrong if that's your focus.
You were so right. You know what, Dennis? We definitely have to do another one of these. I can tell that you can easily jam for another 30, 40 minutes. And guys, I know we touched on just a handful of topics out there. Hey, one of the biggest compliments you can give us as content creators is to share the show. Okay. If you got a manager, a friend, or a colleague that needs to see some part of this conversation because they're going to NADA and they need to prepare for it, share the show. It means so much to us. Hey, Dennis, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been an absolute blast. And for everybody out there, we will see you very shortly at NADA.
See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Your host,